Kim Kardashian rose to fame befriending Paris Hilton. Jennifer Capriati went from depressed to winning the Australian Open because of Andre Agassi. People's lives, businesses, and careers have changed only by becoming friends with those in similar or better vibes. Now, you may already know that, but because people come in a zillion different packages and some of them being damaged, you've probably given up on that dream to become friends with someone. You're like, I'm gonna be friendless forever. But unfortunately for you, not today. Because I spent way too much time reading friendship stories, gathering evidence from popular kids that I know, and also reflecting on my own life experiences to convince you that indeed you have a future with people that love you and you can make friends. So make sure to watch till the end. Our World in Data reported roughly 50% of adults cry themselves to sleep only because they're feeling lonely. And if you're like them, there's one thing you're probably screwing up. And you're forgetting the fact that people are so cool and so are you. Well, you forget that because the internet. Let's take an example from my life. I found one of my best friends in office hours for a class. Now, I didn't know her, she didn't know me, but I've just seen her around. I knew of her existence and I thought she was really cool. One guy that I knew saw her pictures online and told me that she looked like she was catfishing online, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. So the next time I saw her in office hours, I was like, okay, you know what, this is my chance and I'm just going to bring that up to her. So I went and sat beside her and I started the conversation with, you know this guy called Frank? Like, he called you a catfish because you look so different online and offline, but I don't think so. I started laughing because I genuinely thought that was funny, not because I wanted to laugh or anything. And she started laughing as well. Then we spoke a little bit and then we got dinner and the rest was history. Now, this could have gone either way. One, she could have gotten offended, or two, obviously, you know, she would have just vibed and laughed along. But 90% of the time, people are open to new experiences, so I didn't really think much of it. And what happened was exactly what I expected to happen. Like, I approach people the way I want to be approached. Right, if someone came up to me and said the exact same things that I said to her, I would find it hilarious and I would become friends with them. Now, to give you an added perspective, I asked a socially genius friend of mine, Iman, for what she thinks about people. She was the president of a business brat and she was president of so many student organizations on campus that people were always flocking around her. And she said that when she enters a room, she does not miss a chance to meet every single person there, only because she could find someone that could totally change her life. Well, I think that's pretty cool, because even if you're afraid to talk to people, just know that so is everybody else afraid in the room. Everyone's nervous. And chances are that you're not even going to see those people again unless you become best friends with someone, so what are we afraid of? Okay, so now you get that people are cool and all, but that's not enough, right? What happens when you have to talk to someone? Things can get a little dicey. Like, you get nervous, you start rethinking your whole personality, and a lot of things can happen at the same time. This leads to my second point, how to talk to people. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to one of the biggest networking events in Dubai, and the main speaker of the event, who was a self-made communication coach, had this to say: you get nervous because you're thinking about yourself too much. Think about the other person for a second and be actually curious about them. And guess what? It's true, and I can vouch for it. I was in a sorority for a year in college, right? Talking to random people every day, attending a million mixers and networking events all the time. And I can tell you that being genuinely interested in someone, like actually being curious about them, makes you stand out in people's minds, where you create a safe space for not just you, but also other people involved. And that is exactly what we want to achieve. So how do we actually apply this IRL? Point number one, find ways to talk about people's passion. Ask about what they are interested in, their ambitions, ask about what drives them, and also share yours, because you'd be surprised how much people are interested in listening about you in as much as they want to speak about themselves. Number two, ask open-ended questions. When you ask open-ended questions, you are giving the conversation a flow rather than just stunting it. Questions like, what is your favorite food? And that's about it. Instead, ask them something like, what brings you here? If you were to pick between A and B, why would you pick this, etc., etc. Point number three, make eye contact. A lot of people overlook this, probably because they just aren't good at making eye contact. But trust me, making eye contact can completely change the dynamic between you and that person. Because if you are scanning the room while the other person is talking, it's going to give them a negative signal, and that is not a good look for us. Okay, so now you've done all of this. You were genuine, you were curious, you're just simply happy to be there, and you've done your best. And usually by this time, you're in a good spot. But what if you still get ignored and people aren't willing to talk to you? This leads to my next point. How to handle cold shoulders. First of all, it happens to the best of us. Not everybody is going to connect with you because you're not Wi-Fi. It just simply means that there is a vibe mismatch. So it's a good thing that certain people are avoiding you because you do not need them either way. Super, super necessary to not downplay yourself. Why? Because you're sending a signal to your tribe that look like, hey, like I am here, like my people, like I am here. So if you downplay yourself, you make self-depreciating jokes and you start changing yourself a little bit to fit in with the vibe, you're going to weaken your signal and it's going to take longer. In fact, you're never going to find the people that you vibe with. Obviously, you're going to make friends, but friends that actually are required to be in your life, I don't think so. So be smart and move on. Congratulations, you've made new friends. But what happens after you make these friends? What do you tell them now? Like, we can't just sit there and expect like a lifelong bond to like magically appear out of thin air. That leads to my last point, how to keep friends. I was actually scrolling through the comment sections of videos on this topic, right? And it turns out that a lot of people have trouble and have no clue how to maintain friends. Because life happens. Schedules clash, priorities shift, and people drift apart. But here's the great thing about making friends who truly share your vibe. Like, you don't have to go through hoops to keep them around. If you put in the effort, they'll put in the effort too. It's mutual. So what can you do? You can reach out once every couple of weeks to just check on them and see what they're up to. It doesn't mean that you're any less busy, it just means that you're more considerate of a person. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just naturally anxious and hesitant that they might think twice before reaching out. In circumstances like these, we can just be the person to overlook that and reach out, and that's fine. Because friendships outlast romantic relationships often. They are just very important, and we should build the skill to make and keep friends around us. Alright, so that's the lowdown. Friendships don't happen by themselves. They grow when you show up and make the effort. 50 subscribers I'm at. I don't care if in the next few years my subscribers remain at 50. I will still be churning out quality content. I am super, super, super grateful for each and every one of them. Thank you very much. I am super tired and I cannot be yapping for you, so bye.